Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. A week of chaos and carnage. That's what we have faced, thanks to Donald Trump and his move on tariffs. Now, it's true that he has backed down. He blinked. He has decided to suspend some tariffs. But let me remind you, the tariffs on Mexico and on Canada are in place. And the war, and it is a war, with China is escalating every hour. What we know is that Donald Trump seems to be managing the economy on a whim and a wish and a hope and, frankly, a gut reaction. And that is no way to build confidence in the economy. We are watching now today to see what will happen. Will the market go up? Will it go down? But the simple truth is the uncertainty is killing everyone. The uncertainty is a disaster. And Donald Trump, the great businessman, the man who was going to drive the economy forward, reminds me more and more, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, of Herbert Hoover at his worst. The Republican Party should have learned a lesson between 1929 and 1933. The American economy is a fragile piece of work, and it needs to be supported. And frankly, if I hear Donald Trump blast Joe Biden for a lousy economy one more time, well, you and I know that when Joe Biden was president, whatever you thought of him, the economy boomed, the stock market boomed, and yes, indeed, we had confidence in what was happening. What I'm seeing now is disarray, and I want to be very clear about this on a variety of levels. It is not just the economy. It is Social Security, and we are seeing today the Trump administration closing Social Security offices, disrupting the ability to get straight answers about Social Security, and an attack, a direct attack, on one of the most critical aspects of what we do in terms of healthcare. When 80 million people can be affected because Medi-Cal and all of the related operations dealing with those people who have Medicare, but who need more. When all of that is being affected, we have a real problem. I want to be crystal clear, no ambiguity. Take a look at what is happening around the world. We have disasters taking place, but we no longer have the ability or the will, evidently, to make a difference in terms of America's role. The implosion of AID, a direct result of Donald Trump's policies, has proven to be a disaster for the world. And let me point out that even as Donald Trump said, once I'm president, I'll solve the problem with Ukraine. It won't take me more than 24 hours. Look where we are today. And you know that the talks that are going on now are not going well. We know that Donald Trump is weakening NATO every single day. And the weakening of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a disaster for stability in the world. And we know that Donald Trump's pursuit of his enemies, his revenge tour, if you will, is creating fear and havoc in Washington, D.C. and around the country. This is a disaster. And the question is, when will the Republicans stand up and face the music? I want you to imagine that if much of this had happened in terms of tariffs when Joe Biden was president, if Joe Biden had tried to do what Donald Trump is doing, the Republicans would have moved immediately to limit the power of the president when it comes to tariffs. And indeed, Congress has that right. Remember, the Republicans have a narrow majority in the House of Representatives. They could move directly, and by the way, not just in the House, but in the Senate. They could move directly to limit the power of the president when it comes to imposing tariffs. And you can bet your last dollar and it may be your last dollar, that if the Republicans had been facing a Democratic president, that's exactly what they would have done. But what have they done now? What have they done immediately to prevent Donald Trump from wreaking this havoc? Absolutely nothing. Zilch. Zero. My friends, we have a president out of control. Not only that, I did a podcast with you some weeks ago about the presidency and the difference between being a king and a president. I went into some depth on the question of whether or not Congress should continue to roll over and simply do whatever Donald Trump wants. And the answer is Congress had better get a backbone, and I mean the Republicans in Congress. They need to stop and think, because what they are doing now will not be blamed just on Donald Trump. It will be blamed on the Republican Party. And the Republican Party puts itself at a tremendous disadvantage because anybody with eyes, anybody who can see, anybody who can think, can understand that what Donald Trump has done in terms of the tariffs, in terms of domestic policy, in terms of foreign policy, is an unmitigated disaster. These events unfolding before our eyes need to be understood and put in context. What in the world are the Republicans thinking? They're afraid that Donald Trump will wreak revenge on them. And so we are faced now with a fascinating moment, a crossroads in terms of American politics. And that crossroads is, how much can we take? How much will we take? No, let me rephrase that. How much will the Republicans take? The time has come for the Republican Party to respond with great vigor. And of course, if the market continues to crash, if the economy remains uncertain, if everything we get from China has this huge tariff imposed now by China in retaliation for what the United States has done, let me tell you something. This is going to be very unpleasant. When Donald Trump took the oath of office in 2017, he said in his inaugural address that it was the end of American carnage. Mr. President, you'd better understand that what you are doing now is creating a whirlwind. And you and the American people and the Republican Party may reap that whirlwind. I just hope the brakes can be put on before the damage is so severe that our economy is really hurt. That's my message today. I think it is an important message, and I want to couple it with one other thing. You are watching a civil liberties disaster. That is that Donald Trump has now been ordered by the Supreme Court to bring a prisoner who was sent unfairly to a prison in El Salvador back to the United States. That in and of itself, that violation of an individual's rights should result in concern by the Republican Party and by the American people. Donald Trump's carnage has just begun. He's made it clear. And we must be aware. We must respond with vigor. That means Democrats. That means Republicans. That means independents. That means all people of conscience. If we don't respond with great vigor, it will be at our own peril. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. You can interact with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and, of course, by direct email. And let me be clear, I'm taking a weekend of reflection, as you will. The news will still unfold. And on Monday, I will be back right here with you. And yes, Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast, will have it up and running. And then, my friends, we'll see where we're at. Oh, by the way, Passover begins Saturday night. For those of you who observe the Festival of Freedom. Have a wonderful Seder, and let me assure you, I will be back here on Monday, rip-roaring, ready to ride, and ready to deal with the affairs of the world, right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.